How y'all doing? Welcome to the Friday Experience. My name is Pastor Lawrence DeFront. I will be your host for the day. Listen, if you haven't already, please text LSMin to 24251 so that you can join our text group. And if at any moment you feel inclined to give to the ministry, you can Cash App Lawsuit, that's $LAWSOU to Cash App, or you can go to the website, www.lawrencedefront.com, and you will be able to donate. The Restoring Masculinity course will be starting July 10th. So if you have not registered, now would be a good time to register. I'm really excited for this course, y'all. The knowledge that's about to be dropped is crazy. So if you haven't signed up, please sign up as soon as possible. Where are you listening from? I want to know how far the ministry is going. How was your week? How are y'all doing? Man, I mean, we celebrate Juneteenth. I know a lot of us are probably not celebrating the 4th of July. Some of us are. Oh, I know a lot of us are taking the day off, though. We might not be celebrating, but we're taking the day off. Some of us, we might be celebrating the 4th of July. Some of us were celebrating other things on 7-4 day. So it all depends on what your groove is. But let me know what you plan on doing on the weekend. I am interested. I don't even know what we're doing. I let the wife plan all of that good stuff. But where are you listening from? And how's your week been? You've been good. Let me know if you've been good. You had a good week. If you got emojis, put up a thumbs up if you've been having a good week. If your week wasn't really all that good, you can put a thumbs down. We definitely will be praying for you. If you don't want to share, but you want prayer, put the prayer emojis up. And if you're watching me on a computer or laptop, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you can hit a 1, 2, or 3, whatever the case is, but it's time to upgrade. Listen, today we are going to talk about squaring your circle and yourself. Square your circle and yourself. When we talk about squaring your circle and yourself, it's about making sure that everything that you're doing is on the right path, that everything that you're doing is righteous and is centered. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, guys. Got to make sure these lips are popping. You feel me? I see my boy Ian listening from Huntsville. It's good to see you, bro. Can't wait to see you later. Yes, when we talk about squaring your circle, we're dealing with making sure that what you really it's a double entendre. The meaning can go in a lot of different places. And so for those of you who are listening, I don't want you to think that I'm speaking exhaustively, right? But squaring your circle is really a double entendre. One is making sure that the people around you are righteous and are on their right square, that you're doing what you're supposed to do. The other thing is to make sure that your physical plane is within your spiritual plane. And that's another way of looking at squaring your circle. But today I'm going to talk about the people, your influence, your center of influence, the people around you, making sure that they're right. We want to make sure that the people around you are right. You want to make sure, I'm going to say it again, you want to make sure the people around you are right. Who you hang out with influences the outcomes of your life. If you think that you can hang out with just anybody and who you're hanging out with won't impact you in some shape, form, or fashion, you are greatly mistaken. Who you hang out with has a great impact in your life. And so you want to make sure that the people that you are hanging around are in fact good and solid people. The scriptures say something that's very interesting. It says, oh, that's the wrong one. It says, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. That's 1 Corinthians 13. It's actually 15:13. Let me make that adjustment. It's 1 Corinthians 15:13. It says, good company corrupts bad company corrupts good morals. What that simply means is if you were good and you have bad company around you, you're not going to be so good. There is going to be an effect. The company that you keep around you, it has an effect on you, meaning that you can be awesome, you can be on point, you can be everything that you're supposed to be. But if you are hanging around the wrong people, then there is a possibility that the people that you're hanging around with can negatively affect your life. There we go. Now we can put up the right way, right? Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. So I want you to ask yourself, have you ever considered the company that you're keeping around? Have you ever considered if they're good for you? Have you ever considered if they're good people? Have you ever considered what their goals and their dreams are? See, a lot of us, we want to be like Jesus. We say that we want to be like Jesus. And what I mean by that is Jesus did not always hang around the best of people. All right, so we're gonna go somewhere. I need y'all to talk to me, right? Jesus did not always hang around the best of people. And so for many of us, we use that example from Jesus not hanging around the best of people as a reason to not examine the people that we hang around with. Now, let me say this before I go into what Jesus was doing. Actually, no. I'll go into what Jesus was doing first. It says, this is a story from Mark chapter 2. It's one of the examples that's regularly used. It says, and it happened that he was reclining at the table in his house being Levi's house. So a little backstory: Jesus was doing his thing. He was walking through the cities like he normally does. He'd already selected 11 of his disciples. I think it was about 11 at this point. And then he selects the 12th one, which is Levi or Matthew. And he selects Levi and Matthew. Levi is a tax collector. And so at the time, in dealing with, this was at the time where the Hebrews were under Roman control. And because they were under Roman control, they had to pay taxes. Y'all may not know this, but taxes is a byproduct of colonialism. I don't want to get too political now, but I just want you to know the reason why you pay taxes is because you're under somebody else's authority. That's why you pay taxes. And so they were under Roman control. They had to pay taxes. And what the Romans did was they found natives of the land to collect the taxes because they realized that there was less resistance if they used people who looked like the people they were trying to get money from. So the people did not like tax collectors because tax collectors look like sellouts. Tax collectors look like the people who took advantage of their community. Tax collectors were the people who didn't want to be, it appeared like they didn't want to be treated like everybody else. And so they catered to their oppressor to ensure that their life would be easier. So a tax collector today would not be like someone who works for the IRS. No, not directly, right? A tax collector today would be somebody who would take advantage of their community for their own benefit. So a tax collector could be like a drug dealer. A tax collector could be like a pimp. To some degree, a tax collector could be like a police officer. We may not want to go into that, right? But some people are officers. Some people become police officers not to change the police system, but to avoid the abuse of the police system. Then they later find out that there's no escaping it, right? And so a tax collector would be anybody who sells out their community for their own personal gain, right? All right, so it says here that, and it happened that he was reclining at Levi's house, and many tax collectors and sinners were dining with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many of them, all right? And so what we're looking at here is when he gets to Levi's house, who was a tax collector, I'm not going to say it too long, I'm not going to preach, I'm giving you some context, right? He stays with he finds Levi, he goes with Levi, he goes home with Levi, and Levi being a tax collector, when you get to Levi's house, what does he have? He has other tax collectors and sinners there, right? Why? Because that's who Levi was. See, one of the things that we have to realize is our circle is a reflection of us. Man, I should have put some notes up here too, right? Our circle, I could type that. Our circle is a reflection of us. We will be deceiving ourselves if we think that our circles don't reflect us. Someone can learn a lot about who we are based off who we hang out with. Did y'all hear what I just said? People can learn a lot about who we are based off of who we hang out with. So if you find yourself hanging out with abusive people, then there's a good chance that something in you is abusive. I'm going to help you out here. If you find yourself hanging out with creative people, there's a good chance that something in you is creative. If you find yourself hanging out with financially stable people, there's a good chance that something in you resonates with financial stability. If you find yourself hanging out with drug addicts, there's a good chance that there's something in you that resonates, right, with drug addiction. Whether it be you yourself being an addict, whether it be addictions in your bloodline, there's something in you that resonates with the circle you're around. So now the circle that you're around is not just people you hang out with once in a while. The circle that you're around are the people that you keep close to you. I want to help you here. And the problem with some of us is our circle is either too big, meaning anybody that we interact with becomes a part of our circle. And what we don't realize is your circle is a reflection of you. Everybody can't be, you can't be buddy, buddy, friend, friend with everybody. Everybody isn't supposed to be that close to you. But when you don't know who you are, you look for identity in everything and everywhere. I'm about to help some of you. Part of the reasons why your circle is so big is because you still struggle with who you are. And so you see something in everybody and you're like, yeah. I'm close to them, I'm close to them, I'm close to them, I'm close to them. You're close to everybody because you're struggling with identifying who you are. When you identify, when you know who you are, then you realize there's certain circles I can't even be a part of. Right. So Levi, being a tax collector, when you get to Levi's house, what do you find? Tax collectors. Because Levi's a tax collector. Me being involved with business, you're most likely going to see me hanging around other people involved in business. Me being a pastor, you might see me hanging around with other people that are pastors. I play spades. You might see me hanging around with other people who play spades, right? Your circle is a reflection of who you are. All right, so now that we got that out the way, now we can understand the conundrum here. Jesus, all right, so many tax collectors and their disciples are there. There were many of them, right? Okay. And they were following him, following Jesus. So there were many disciples following Jesus. And many sinners and tax collectors also following Jesus. Because, watch this. Every sinner wasn't following Jesus. But there were sinners who was following Jesus. Why? Because there was something about Jesus that resonated with them. I need y'all to catch what I just said. Because one of the problems is we tend to categorize people in simple categories, not realizing how complex we really are. So these sinners, right? Sinners. So to be a sinner, we talked about this last week, right? But to be a sinner is to not be with God. Is to, you want to just do all types of wild stuff and wicked stuff, right? That's what it means to be a sinner. Jesus being a righteous man, Jesus being a man of God, Jesus being the Son of God, Jesus being the Messiah. Jesus was already performing miracles. He had already healed so many people. Jesus's ministry was already popping by this time. And there are sinners who saw something in Jesus that they resonated with, and so they're following them. That means that there is something in them more. There's more in them than just sin. I'm going somewhere, but there's more in them than just sin. And this is why it's important. We're gonna build, and y'all gonna talk to me today. All right, it says, and for there were many of them, and they were following him. When the scribes of the Pharisees saw that he was eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they said to his disciples, so they didn't even say to Jesus, they said to Jesus' disciples, why is he eating with tax collectors and sinners? Why are they asking that question? Because your circle is a reflection of you. I need y'all to understand. When the scribes of the Pharisees see Jesus eating with sinners and tax collectors, their brain is saying he must be a sinner because he's hanging out with sinners and tax collectors. And since your circle is a reflection of you, there's no way that this man cannot be a sinner hanging out with sinners and tax collectors. Why? Because, do not be deceived, bad company corrupts good morals. So what we're looking at seems to be a contradiction. We're looking at, on one end, bad company corrupts good morals, but then we're looking at Jesus hanging out with bad company. And what we have to do is we need to try to make sense of what's going on. Because many of us, we think when we're hanging out with people that we shouldn't be hanging out with, we're being like Jesus. What do I mean? Well, Jesus makes a declaration. Jesus says, and hearing this, Jesus said to them, it is not those who are healthy who need a physician, but those who are sick. I did not come to call the righteous, but sinners. And the King James says, on to repentance. So Jesus, all right, see, now we can get in here. Jesus knew the type of people he was hanging out with. Jesus was not trying to make sinners He was not trying to make sinners look good. Hear what I'm saying. Jesus was not trying to make sinners look like they weren't sinners. Jesus was not trying to justify the sinners based off of their activity. Jesus was not trying to say, oh, it's okay that they're sinners. That's not a big deal. That's not a big problem. No, no, no. What Jesus was saying was, I'm hanging out with these sinners, and these sinners are following me because they recognize, and I recognize that they are looking for something better. I'm not calling those who are good. Those who are good, y'all straight, y'all don't need me. But those who are sick and are looking to be better, I am hanging out with those. So let's bring it to home. Let's bring it to home. Some of you, let me talk to you, and y'all need to talk back to me. Some of you, you're hanging out with wicked people who have no intentions of becoming better. Y'all need to talk to me. Some of you, you say you're being like Jesus, but you're getting very comfortable being with wicked people who have no intentions of becoming better. And what I want you to understand is if you're hanging out with wicked people who have no intentions of becoming better, you are not being like Jesus. And the warning for you is do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. At some point, if you're not careful, if you don't examine the people you're hanging out with, you'll find yourself thinking that you're being a light in their life. But in reality, what's happening is you're hanging out with people that's trying to dim the very light in you. And here's the thing, that no one really has the authority to dim your light. Your light comes from God. What they're going to do is they're going to have you turn your light down. How are they going to have you turn your light down? They're going to convince you that your light isn't light. Y'all not hearing me? When you hang out with a certain corrupt type of people, if you hang out with them long enough, you start to think like them. And the wicked has issues with good. There's a reason why. There is a reason why in this society we're living in right now, good is being pronounced as evil and evil is being pronounced as good. There's a reason why things are being turned upside down. When people are dedicated and determined to be wicked. So listen, I'm not talking about the person who doesn't know any better. I'm not talking about the person who is lost. I'm not talking about the person who's responding based off of their trauma. I'm not talking about the person who had a situation that occurred to them that kind of a situation that happened to them that kind of turned them out. I'm not talking about the person who is confused because they had a different type of training. I'm talking about people who know that what they're doing is wrong, but they continue to live like it's okay, and they have no intentions of getting it right. There is a point where you need to square your circle. There's a point where you need to realize this is not the type of person I need to be around. So if you are a husband and you hang around men who cheat on their wives, you thinking, oh, they will be won over by my faithfulness. When they see how I love my wife, they will be convicted in their hearts to do better. But if they have their minds made up to be cheaters, eventually through enough time, through enough socialization, you will begin to look at cheating a little different. And when things start to get rough in your marriage, you'll start to consider that maybe cheating is an option. And you would have never considered that had you not hang around cheaters for so long. You need to hear what I'm saying. So in criminology, there's this understanding, right? That when someone is first introduced to crime, they're disgusted by it. And I'm not quoting it verbatim, but if you heard the quote before, you know I'm giving the general idea. When someone is first introduced to crime, they're disgusted by it. Disgusted. Ooh, if they were never around crime, the first time they're around, they're like, this nasty. Oh, this disgusting. This is nasty. But if they stay around it, it becomes a little more tolerable. It's not as disgusting anymore. And if they keep staying around crime, it becomes justifiable. And then if they keep hanging around crime, it starts to even become attractive. And if they keep hanging around crime, they become criminals themselves. This is an understanding that people have. This is psychology, an understanding that your circle, that which you expose yourself to, has an influence to how you will view the world. And some of you, the reason why you're not getting further in life is because you are hanging around people who are comfortable with being in a lower vibration. I'm talking to you right now. You're hanging around people who have no desire to get higher. And if you hang around people who have no desire to get higher, eventually they'll convince you that getting higher is not worth it. So you want to be careful of the circle that you're around. Because do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. But how was Jesus? Now here's the question. How was Jesus able to hang around the sinners and tax collectors? Let me go back to that text real quick. Because what Jesus says, and y'all need to talk to me, I ain't saying nothing. Well, what Jesus says was, I didn't come to call the healthy, but I called to call the sick. Right? I did not come for the righteous, but for sinners. I'm calling sinners. I want to help sinners become righteous. I want to help sinners become righteous. How is Jesus able to be around sinners and not become one? How was Jesus able to constantly interact around sinners and not become one? Even this idea that the physician is looking for the sick. Those of you in the medical field, you have an understanding that if you are around sick patients long enough, at some point, you might find yourself contracting what they have. And the only way that you can ensure that you don't contract what they have is if you have some type of protective gear to cover you while you're in the presence of sickness. Y'all not hearing what I'm saying. Because if you go in the presence of sickness without protective gear, if you go in the presence of sickness without a knowledge of how sickness works, if you go into the presence of sickness unprepared and unaware, then it's only a matter of time until you contract the sickness. And so what Jesus would do before he would go out into the presence of corrupt people, before he would mingle in the presence of sinners and tax collectors, before he would mingle in circles and atmospheres of darkness and wickedness, the scriptures tell us something that Jesus used to do. It said, and in the early morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, listened to what he did, and went away to a secluded place and prayed there for a time. So look now I want to help y'all understand how to read the Bible a little bit. Look at this reference. This is Mark chapter 1 verse 35, right? So in Mark chapter 1 verse 35, it tells us what Jesus did. He was around some sick folk, he healed some sick folk, and then he went, everybody went to bed, and then early while it was morning, he left to a secluded place to pray. He got done dealing with some sick, he left and prayed. So now when we get to Mark chapter 2, we already have an understanding as to what Jesus was doing to protect himself from being corrupted by sinners and tax collectors. Let me make it completely plain. Some of you, when you get up, you're not getting up early enough to put on your protective gear. I'm talking to some of you. You're taking advantage the covering. You're not considering the wickedness that you're encountering. And let me be frank. Jesus, when he called his 12, he called his 12. The 12 were the ones that he called. That was really his circle. And when it came to them, he was teaching them, he was correcting them, he was covering them, he was empowering them. The 12 was his circle. And even amongst the 12, one of them was the devil. right? Even amongst the 12, one of them was the devil. But Jesus was constantly out there into the world with the intentions, watch this, with the intentions of being a light. Can I be honest with you? Some of you are hanging out with wicked people because you enjoy the wickedness they're involved in. Let's just get it out there. Some of you find them to be fun. You find them to be entertaining. You receive them as one of your own. And you've convinced yourself that I can be cool with wicked people and it somehow does not get to me. The reality is you could respect wicked people, you could love wicked people, but if you count yourself as one of them, you are putting yourself in a position to corrupt your good morals. You're putting yourself in a position to corrupt your good character because you're not one of them. Part of the reasons why some of us, we're still in a sin consciousness is because we keep hanging out with sinners. We keep hanging out with people who don't want to be better, who have no desire to be better. They're reinforcing things that we've been convicted that we shouldn't be doing, but because we've known them for years, or because they're all we have, or because they're not going to have anybody else if we leave. We come up with all these excuses to keep our circle unsquared. And the other reality is we're not even squaring ourselves. We're not going into the secluded areas to ensure that we put on our divine covering to protect us from the sickness of sin. Many of us, we skip that part. A lot of us, we wake up late. We're rushing to go to work. The first thing we do is get on social media. The level of corruption that exists on social media, do you really think that should be the first thing that you do? But whatever, I digress. For many of us, the first thing we do is get on social media. For some of us, the first thing we do is watch the news. We do all of these things, and we've never protected ourselves. It's only a matter of time. See, you know I'm not a legalist. I hope y'all know I'm not a legalist. I'm not saying you missed a day and, all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. What I'm saying is some of us have made it a lifestyle to be unprotected. Some of us, we started talking about prayer and fasting like it's old school tradition instead of a spiritual covering to block the wickedness that is constantly trying to infect us. So well, maybe you don't know. Let me kind of school you. You have what's called an immune system, right? Your immune system is designed to fight off any type of pathogen that gets in your spirit. In your body. So you're constantly being exposed to viruses, bacteria, all types of pathogens, constantly. And they're constantly entering your body. Constantly. But you don't always feel the effects of them because you have an immune system, for the most part, that's working and is fighting them off. The only time you start to get sick is when your immune system is weakened. Now, your immune system can be weakened by a stronger virus or bacteria or pathogen or whatever. And your immune system could also be weakened because it hasn't been fed. I need to hear what I'm saying. How do you feed your immune system? You feed your immune system with what you take in. Because, sugars and stuff like that, that's what viruses and bacteria feed off of. Your immune system feeds off of vitamins and minerals, proteins and fats, nutrients. And sugar is a type of nutrient, but an abundance of sugar without any other nutrients actually begins to weaken your immune system. And many of you, you've been suffering physical sickness because you have not been intentional in strengthening your immune system. Haven't been taking in the vitamins and minerals you're supposed to take, haven't been exercising like you're supposed to, haven't been drinking the water like you're supposed to. The water helps the body put the toxins in a vehicle to get it out. Water is extremely important. You haven't been getting the sleep you're supposed to. You are not strengthening your immune system. And so it's only a matter of time until sickness overtakes your body. Why? Because you're always being exposed to sickness. And so the only defense you have against the sickness is your immune system. It would be wise for you to strengthen it. Well, it's the same thing spiritually. There is a consistent flow of negative forces coming your way consistently. And through the rise of 5G, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, through the rise of these invisible channels, radio waves, you are constantly being bombarded with negative ideas. There are things constantly intercepting your consciousness. Consistently. You are not getting a break from it. And so the only way that you can fight against those negative forces, I didn't even get into the spirits, the actual demons trying to come at you. I'm just talking about the negative forces, the negative information, the negative waves that are constantly coming at you to make you depressed. Because if you're depressed, you'll look for something to get you out of your depression that could turn you into a slave, trying to make you feel inferior, trying to make you feel ugly. If you feel ugly, you'll spend money on things to beautify yourself, trying to make you feel hungry. If you're hungry, then you'll go to the quickest fast food. You're constantly being bombarded with negative effects consistently. It would be wise for you to be like Jesus and cover yourself. Jesus woke up early in the morning while it was dark, went to a secluded place and prayed. Now, am I saying you got to wake up early? I'm not saying you got to wake up early, but I will say this. If you find yourself not having time to be in fervent prayer, in intentional prayer, what I mean is, so let's talk about prayer real quick, because y'all ain't saying nothing, so I'm gonna go till I'm done, right? When talking about prayer, I'm talking about genuine communion with God. If you don't seem to find time to spend genuine time with God during the day, then you probably need to wake up a little earlier. And if you feel like it's not worth waking up earlier, if you feel like that, then I just want to ask you, how long do you think you can be bombarded by all this negativity before it finally affects you? Because my fear is when you do get into a dark space, that's when you're going to start looking for the light. The worst time to look for the flashlight is when the lights go off. When you don't have power, that's the worst. You should already know where it's at. You should have rehearsed where it's at. You should know where to go to get the light before the power goes off. And for some of us, we've been hit hard by the enemy because we've been inconsistent with our covering. I'm speaking to somebody. We've been inconsistent in squaring our circle and ourselves. We've been inconsistent in examining who, because now in 2021, your circle is not just those you hang around with. Your circle is also those that come up on your timeline. Can I teach for a little bit? Your circle is not just the people that you physically are around or the people that you make phone. As a matter of fact, those that you call on the phone tend to have less of an influence on your life because you see more people on your timeline than you are actually talking to people on the phone, than you are actually texting your family and your loved one. And so some of you, you're following people that's feeding you stuff that's weakening your spiritual immune system. Some of you, you're watching movies that's weakening your spiritual immune system. Some of you, you're listening to music that's weakening your spiritual immune system, right? And then you're hanging out with people that reinforce the corruption, and your character is changing. You think you're out there being a light, but what you're doing is exposing yourself. My guidance to you is to ensure that you remain covered, not in a religious way, not in form or fashion, but being intentional in daily communion with the Most High, asking Him to cleanse your spirit, asking Him to guard your mind and your heart, asking Him to increase your sensitivity of discernment, asking Him to give you strength to cut off those that need to be cut off and take on those that need to be taken on, asking Him to turn your light up just a little brighter, intentional communion with the Most High. So when you go out there, you can recline, you can hang out with sinners and not be affected. You can get hit with all this negativity and not be affected. The only reason you're not affected is because of your intentional relationship with the Most High. If being intentional with the Most High seems like a waste to you, if being intentional with the Most High seems like a chore, if it seems like it's old religion, then I want to be the warning to tell you that you're setting yourself up to be exposed. And the enemy didn't come to hurt. The enemy comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. The enemy's looking to destroy your peace. The enemy's looking to destroy your love. The enemy's looking to destroy your joy. The enemy is looking to destroy your life. And the enemy is tactical. The enemy is not stronger than you. The enemy is not stronger. You are so much stronger than the enemy. But if you continue to ignore and neglect the source of your strength, you'll find yourself faint and weak. All right, I'm done. That's literally all I gotta say. We're gonna reflect in a little bit. But I want to help y'all. I felt in my spirit that some of us we're getting too comfortable with our lack of intention. You know, God's been so good to us that we forget about the negativity that's trying to bring us down. And if Jesus saw it necessary to go to a secluded place and pray, who are we to think that we don't need the same? You are a child of God, right? Worthy to receive this word. Say it. I am a child of God, worthy to receive this word. I want you to ask yourself, in true reflection, breathe into your nose, out through your mouth. I want you to ask yourself in true reflection, when's the last time you went to seclusion to pray? When's the last time you closed the door and you was intentional and you said, I'm not going to let nothing interrupt my prayer. I'm going to go before the Father. When's the last time you was intentional being in a secluded place to fast? I'm gonna put the plate down. I'm gonna put the social media down. I'm gonna square myself. I'm gonna make sure that I'm centered with God. When is the last time you examined your circle? Did a real social media cleanse where you looked at what was coming up and you evaluated if the content is bringing you higher or bringing you lower? Am I saying that all entertainment is bad? Come on, guys. That's not what I'm saying. But how much are you feeding yourself to elevate you to the space where you're trying to go? Because if all you're eating is cookies and cakes all day, guess what? You're starving your immune system. Meaning, if everything on your timeline is just entertainment, you're not receiving anything to help better yourself. You're not receiving anything to help encourage your spirit. You're not receiving anything to help you get to that next level you claim you want to get to. Then what are the chances of you actually getting there? And examine how much of the content is lifting you up versus weighing you down. You know, I and I'm not the standard, I'm just sharing some stuff. I'm very intentional in going through my following and going through my content. And I rearranged my timeline, well, my algorithm, because I like certain things and I don't like certain things, like literally tap and like, because once I learned that if you tap something, you like it or you save it, it affects what will come up. More of that particular thing will come up. So I'm very intentional in liking the things that help lift me up. And what I've realized is since I've been doing my cleanse, if I decide to take a break and go on social media, I'm not on social media too long because I'm getting so much motivation. I'm getting so much inspiration that it's like, I got to put this down and get back to work. I got to put this down and get started, in my workout, in exercising. I gotta put this down and start studying. Like the things that's coming up on my timeline is reminding me consistently that I'm trying to get to another level. And so what could have been a distraction now becomes a motivator to keep pushing. But it's not done by accident. It's not done by accident. I have to be intentional in following the people that produce content that gets me inspired. You understand what I'm saying? I'm very aware of the people that I talk to about my future and my dream. I make sure I hang out with certain people I make sure I call and text certain people because I recognize that my circle has to be a certain way. I'm very intentional with my fasting and my praying because I recognize that I have to be a certain way. I need to square my circle and myself. I need to make sure that everything that's around me is in line with who I am and who I'm trying to be. And like we talked about last week, God is pleased with you, with the real you, with the true you. God is pleased with you. It would do you a great service to ensure that your circle is in line with who God sees. Y'all need to hear me right now. You don't want your circle to reflect who you think you were. You want your circle to reflect who God thinks of you. What you want your circle to reflect what God sees. You want to be around, you want to surround yourself with people and with things that remind you of your higher self. What? Okay, I'll drop this bar. Why do you think artwork costs so much? Because they understood the power of imagery. And certain art inspires men and women, inspires people to become better. And they'll pay $1 million, $2 million to have art that stirs their spirit. And you think they just want their house to look nice. No, they want, when they're walking down the marble floors in their homes, it does something to their spirit. When they see the grand doors 15 feet tall, it does something to their spirit. They're creating a space where everything is great, everything is grand. And so when they're about to get to work, they produce nothing but greatness. Their circle is great. They're great. Their homes are great. Everything is to inspire greatness. It is our job to ensure that we surround ourselves with the things that are going to bring us to the next level. Because as long as we're looking at low vibrating things, we're going to take us down. It's going to take us down. It is going to take us down. We need to be intentional in looking at things that lift us up. All right. Those are the reflections. That's all I got. Y'all was real quiet today, but that's all good. I know, once again, wasn't necessarily shouting one, but it's necessary. And I do hope that you're truly examining your circle. There's some people that you weren't really talking to. You need to start talking to them because they have some gems for you. I'm gonna prophesy a little bit. They got some gems for you. There were people that you weren't really banging with. They got some gems. You need to start talking to them. They need to become a part of your circle. And there's some people that you've been talking to. You need to let them go. Cut them off. Time to cut them off. They ain't doing nothing but holding you back. Time to cut them off. You got to go. You vibrate too low for where I'm going. I can't take you. I can't take that way. You don't have any desire to go higher. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means I can't be around you. I can't be around you. If you're a low vibrating person, you need to at least have a desire to go higher. For me to be around you consistently. Once in a while, we could kick it, keying up, hey, dab each other up, give each other a hug. Like I can't be keeping tabs on you because if I'm around you too long, you're going to corrupt what I'm trying to become. It's a fact. And I'm going to say it because people don't want to talk about it no more, but I'm going to say it. Bad company corrupts good morals. Let's pray. Father in heaven, I'm so grateful that you are letting us know that we need to cleanse. that we need to cleanse our circles. We need to cleanse ourselves. We need to square our circles. We need to square ourselves. We need to do what's necessary to vibrate higher and to ensure that our circle is a reflection of who we are. I'm grateful that you love us and that you're pleased with us. Help us to surround ourselves with things that reflect us, that reflect the true us, the greater us, the higher us. Help us to remove those things that try to bring us down back to being sinners. Because that's not who we are. We're children of God. Help us to listen to music that reminds us that we are children of God. Help us to watch movies that remind us that we are children of God. Help us to fast and to pray so that when we do watch something just to get a quick laugh and to be entertained, that our immune system is strong enough to process and destroy the negative impacts of those things. God, help us to see the weight of the forces that are really combating us, that we will truly be protected. Do that for us in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. I'll see y'all later. You guys are dismissed. Peace.